Yep.
So let's start talking about paywall. So a lot of news sites are obviously, have seen giving away their content as a huge problem. They don't see advertising on the web as something that is going to support their news gathering operations on the time scale they have to deal with. And Bloomberg's an interesting example here because you have the highest value content. I mean, what does a Bloomberg terminal cost? About $16,000 a year?
It's actually like $22,000 a year.
It's gone up since
right.
last I checked.
Yeah.
$22,000 a year. So, you obviously have to both protect that franchise, which has built that incredible building, and
right.
The mayoral fortune, and not give that stuff away. So what's your whole philosophy around paywalls and free content?
Well, there's a couple things. I mean, I want to address first the kind of the way we think strategically as a company about how our media can support that business of charging financial professionals quite a bit of money for the fastest and most comprehensive and accurate news and data delivered through a proprietary and highly productive environment. But for us, most of our media is entirely free and ad supported, and we're very committed to that because we think that maximizes a large influential audience of the people who make the news. And our belief is, and I think it's a really sound idea, is that if we have those newsmakers waking up every day and relying on Bloomberg through our various media channels for their news, their starting point for the news, then when our news staff, our reporters come to call on them to get the exclusive interview, to get the breaking story, we think they're much more likely to choose us. And if we break more stories, if we get better stories, we'll sell more terminals, and we'll take that money and reinvest it in news gathering and media, and it starts to become a virtuous cycle. Now, we won't give all of the news and data away in our media. We don't think that's appropriate because they're different audiences, and so they need different things, and they want to present it in very different ways. The cost of a false negative, of leaving out an important fact for a financial professional, if it's going to affect one of her trades or his trades, is very high. It could be millions of dollars in lost opportunity there. For an executive, it's quite the different thing. They don't want false positive. They don't want clutter in their news. And an occasional false negative, it would be okay. They can live with maybe a few data points being left out. So those kinds of differences lead us to have less content on our free media because that's more appropriate, and we don't have to deliver it in real time. In fact, synthesizing things in a delayed way is helpful.
Surely there are some price points between free and $22,000.
Yeah, and I want to address that. I mean,
we're big believers in the free content model at Slate.
Right.
We think advertising can support what we do, but I personally subscribe to the FT and subscribe to the Wall Street Journal, although I'm not a candidate for a Bloomberg terminal.
Right, and that might be appropriate for those publications. I think our view, though, is that, and we heard this clearly from our users, if you're going to charge for the content, give me something that I cannot get elsewhere, and make sure I am very clear on when I'm going to have to pay and when I'm not. Arbitrary paywalls that are presented to me in unexpected ways are a very bad experience for users. That's what we heard loud and clear. And so for us, when we are going to offer subscription products, and we will offer them, it's going to be for content where we're investing quite heavily to get that content and present it in an effective way for these executives. So we'll focus on deep industry content, effectively summarized, very, very smartly summarized for our executives. And we'll charge them potentially thousands of dollars a year to get these, what we are calling briefings, from us. But we don't think just because you can charge for content, you should. It should be about whether that content really requires you to invest to go get it and therefore then charge for it. By the way, advertising is not free. Advertising, when you deliver a high-quality audience, very focused audience, in the context of high-quality content like Slate does, like Bloomberg.com does, advertisers are willing to pay us good money for that opportunity. And our users are giving, our executives are giving their time, their attention to those ads. That's not free to them.
No, it's a television model.
Yeah, and it's a good model, right? It's a model that's supported for an open environment. I think the web is an inherently open medium, so I do think arbitrary restrictions on access are tough in an inherently open environment, like TV, like the web.
One thing I do want to ask you about is Bloomberg's expansion, and particularly about the BusinessWeek thing and how that figures in the web. You know, Bloomberg, it strikes me, is at a slightly dangerous place right now because it has this fantastic franchise. It's generating all this cash, and with that cash comes a temptation to buy stuff because something like BusinessWeek in the current environment is not very expensive, but one could also argue that it's not core to the business of Bloomberg. Why did you guys do that, and how does it figure in the plans for the web?
Sure. Well, when you go back to that view that a large and influential audience of people who make news is critical to our overall ecosystem at Bloomberg, then I think BusinessWeek takes on a new kind of relevance to what we're trying to accomplish, and it's not a distraction, but it's actually a core contributor to our success. And it was interesting because we really have kind of come to this view of our overall strategy over the last 12, 18 months, and so there was a time when I think we would have not taken on the opportunity and the challenge of BusinessWeek, and yet when it came across our kind of desks last year, we were excited about it. I personally was thrilled about it from the perspective of what it did for our online business. It's the same audience, in effect. It's great high quality content. It's the
same audience
as our online audience for Bloomberg.com.
Slate ran a piece in The Big Money, which is our business site, arguing that the real value in BusinessWeek was the web audience. That you could count the magazine as nothing.
I won't say that. I won't say that the magazine is nothing by any means. It reaches 4.5 million people a week, but the web audience is larger, and we know the economics very well of running a content-driven, ad-driven business on the web, and scale is very attractive, and so it was a consistent audience, high-quality content, and we see it as the why to Bloomberg.com's what. So you know what's happening, now figure out why. And so we see them as complementary, and you'll see us evolve the kind of interactions between those two sites over the coming year.
In the magazine, you're allowed to use the term "but."
What's that?
Isn't the term "but" banned on Newsweek because it implies it's not neutral?
I think that's right. I don't. Luckily, I get to leave those to the professionals.
You don't have to deal with the style
editors.
book,
right?
Yeah. So let's talk about tablets for a minute. Do you own an iPad? This question I asked Tim Armstrong this morning.
Right. Well, so one of the more, if I do say so, one of the better applications of the iPad initially is we bought a bunch of them for our advertising sales team, and I've never seen anything like it. It opened doors for them visiting agencies and advertisers because everybody wanted to see it. We got them like right when they came out. And they're also great for giving a presentation on if you're sitting around a small table. There's that moment where you open the laptop and everybody just kind of, deflates, and you open the iPad, well, you don't even open it, you just pull it out and turn it on, and it's on immediately, and you start showing a presentation. It looks fantastic, and people lean forward instead of kind of falling back in their chairs. So we have a lot of them floating around, and we're really excited about it. The interesting thing about the iPad is, well, of course, we were all talking about it before any of us had seen it, which was comical. As we're starting to see users use it, I think there is an intriguing question. We've invested in apps, but I don't know that apps survive the big screen and beautiful interaction on the iPad. I think the web may win on a browser.
Great point. I really agree because you don't need the app in the same way on the big screen. I mean, and I've already been in the situation where I have an app for a publication, a magazine, and do I go through the app to read something I want, or do I just go through the Safari browser?
Right. And
the Safari browser is, I think, generally a better experience. You're linked to the outside world. You have all the functionality of a web page. You can comment. The app presentation is beautiful, but it's a kind of hard shell that you can't penetrate.
That's right. And I think for a very small screen, that bias towards the presentation it opens up a lot of usage that a mobile browser doesn't lend itself to. But on the iPad, I think the open environments, they're as messy as humans want them to be, and I think the restrictiveness of the app environment and the business model of forcing everything through the App Store is not necessarily going to win when you